Se les preguntó a unas tías PROGRE si apoyaban el aborto un día o segundos antes de que una mujer dé a luz y por cualquier motivo y ellas de manera implícita dijeron que sí. El diputado gringo se quedó atónito y lo verás en este video. En él se estaba debatiendo algunas ideas raras pero peligrosas PROGRE relacionadas con el aborto. Durante el debate las cosas se pusieron tensas dado que las PROGRES no respondían con claridad a la pregunta del diputado gringo. Mira el video completo y dime si al igual que el diputado gringo te quedas atónito o atónita tras escuchar las palabras insensibles e ilógicas de las PROGRES. Pero antes, no olvides suscribirte para ver más videos como este, además ello permite que crezca esta comunidad. Sin mayor dilación, empecemos.
Ms. Professor Bridges, you, in your testimony, talked about the prevalence of the percentage of black babies that are aborted as opposed to non-black babies. I think you said 3 or 4 times more black babies than non-black babies are aborted. You also talk about systemic racism. Do you see any systemic racism associated with the prevalence of abortion for black babies as opposed to non-black babies?
Absolutely. The higher rates of unintended pregnancy that lead to higher abortion rates among black people is a result of structural racism, systemic racism. I understand systemic racism not to be boogeymen who are trying to dupe black people into abortion care. I understand structural racism to be the systems that have made it so that black people disproportionately bear the burdens of poverty in this country, the systems that have denied them the basics that they need in order to live humane lives like food, clothing, shelter, health care.
So you believe
a system that responds with the criminal legal system.
You believe there ought to be more black babies, is that right?
I believe that we ought to create the conditions under which people can lead lives that are filled with dignity and humanity.
And
that
to
means
your,
being
to
able
your way
to,
of thinking, that happens when more black babies are
I believe, I trust, I love black people with the capacity for pregnancy. I think they have agency, they have intelligence, they know what is best for themselves, and I would love to create the conditions under which they can live lives that are filled with dignity and humanity.
And do you think a baby that is delivered alive has value?
Yes.
Do you think that a baby that is not yet born has value?
I believe that a person with a capacity for pregnancy has value. They have intelligence, they have agency, they have
I'm talking about the baby.
And I'm talking about the person with the capacity for pregnancy.
You're not answering the question. I'm asking.
I'm answering a more interesting question to me.
Do you think that the baby that is not yet born, let's say the day before this mother delivers, do you think that baby has value?
I think that the person with the capacity for pregnancy has value, and they should have the ability to control what happens to their lives.
Well, and I just note you refuse to answer the question. Ms. Harrell, the Declaration of Independence talks about certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When do you think that unalienable right to life attaches?
Thank you. Yes, life is a human right. And when I answered Senator Booker's question earlier, that I think our laws should protect all human life, I think I was focusing on the heart part, and I didn't mean to suggest that it's a matter of congressional authority to enact the law that you described. But I do think that the American people understand that you have no rights if you don't have the right to life. That is a principle that our nation was founded upon, and every human being from its earliest existence has its own DNA and has a future. If we don't extinguish it, has a future. And that is a human right. It is the values and mores, as Senator Cruz was speaking of, that goes back to the founding of our nation, even at common law, and all the way up until 1973, when those life-affirming laws in 46 states were turned on their heads by the Supreme Court. So I believe that's what the American people believe. Life is a human right.
Governor Stratton, as I listen to your testimony, it seems to me that you're advocating for, at any time, for any reason, at any point during a woman's pregnancy. Is that correct?
What I'm advocating for is for everyone to have the right to determine what's best for their life, their body, and their
Any
future.
time, at any point in the pregnancy. Is that correct?
I'm advocating for everyone to have the right to make the personal decision about what's best for their life, their body, and their future. Everyone should have that right.
Do you not understand my question? My question is, are you advocating that there's a right to abortion at any time, for any reason, at any point during a pregnancy?
I'm not sure if you understand my answer, but what I'm saying
No,
is that
I understand that you're not
Okay.
answering the question.
then
And what amazes me is the advocacy for unlimited rights, where there is zero value placed on an unborn child. I think Senator Cruz pointed out, obviously, abortion is a very emotional and divisive issue in our society. One reason why we haven't had conversations like this is because the Supreme Court has said you can't talk about it because it's out of bounds. It's in the Constitution, as opposed to it being decided in a forum, a legislative forum like the states. But what I don't understand is the argument that a unborn child has zero value the day before it's delivered, but then has value the day after it's born. Ms. Matzke, can you help explain that?
Thank you so much, Senator. Yes, I actually can. As a matter of fact, here in California, there's a law that's about to be passed called AB 2223. And this law basically will allow, as a woman is in the midst of a chemical and she delivers a baby alive on the floor at any stage of pregnancy or in a hospital, that baby, if this law is passed, has the ability to be born alive and left to no matter what, a baby in the womb or outside of the womb has value. And we are not just talking about the value of a life in the womb right now, we are also talking about the value of a life in California after it is born and allowing it to die up to 28 days after birth.
Thank you.
Antes de ahondar el tema principal del video, quisiera comentarte a qué se refería la tía de ojos grandes con el término sistema estructural racista. Esta teoría se refiere a la supuesta presencia y perpetuación de prácticas y patrones sistémicos que conducen a la discriminación racial de manera institucionalizada. Aparentemente, según los que sostienen la idea, estos sistemas están arraigados en las estructuras fundamentales de la sociedad, como las políticas gubernamentales, las prácticas empresariales, las instituciones educativas y otros aspectos de la vida social. Cosas que los PROGRE se imaginan, como siempre. ¿Qué opinas de esta teoría? Déjamelo saber en los comentarios. Asimismo, te pregunto a ti, lo mismo que el diputado le preguntó a la tía PROGRE, ¿un bebé recién nacido tiene valor? ¿Un bebé unas horas o segundos antes de nacer tiene valor? Comenta. Para mí, la vida y la dignidad humana comienzan en el momento de la concepción, lo que conlleva a que le demos un alto valor al feto, incluso unos segundos antes del nacimiento, el cual subyuga cualquier deseo injusto, egoísta, inmaduro e irresponsable. Injusto porque ejerces tu poder de manera abusiva sobre un ser que no puede defenderse, egoísta porque solo piensas en tu propio beneficio de manera insana y finalmente inmadura e irresponsable porque vamos a ver, si una mujer no quiere quedar embarazada ya sabe qué hacer. Un hombre que quiere que una mujer con la que se acostó no quede embarazada ya sabe qué hacer. Existen muchos métodos anticonceptivos. Pero seamos claros en algo, dentro del movimiento pro vida, hay diversidad de opiniones y posturas sobre cuestiones específicas. Por ejemplo, algunas personas pro vida podrían aceptar o justificar un aborto para salvar la vida de la mujer, como lo es mi caso. ¿Tú por qué otras razones piensas que sería justificable? Por favor, agradecería mucho tu comentario. Y aquí culmina este video. Si te gustó dale like, comenta y comparte el video. Gracias, hasta luego.